What happens if we stop time? Discover the shocking truth. Imagine you have an incredible superpower, stopping time. Everything around you becomes completely still, as if someone has pressed a pause button on the universe. But here's the big question. What happens to your body when time stops? Think of it as if you are frozen but not feeling cold. The heart, which normally beats non-stop to pump blood around your body, would simply stop. This blood, which carries oxygen to all parts of your body, would be trapped in the veins and arteries, unable to move. Likewise, your lungs, which normally expand and contract to pull air in, would be frozen in one position, not allowing you to breathe. Now, this isn't just a nuisance, it's a serious problem. Without your heart beating and breathing, your body's cells, which need oxygen to produce energy, would begin to suffer. Under normal conditions, if your heart stops beating or you stop breathing for just a few minutes, your body begins to collapse and permanent damage can occur. But if time is stopped, even if the collapse does not happen immediately, the threat is there, waiting for time to run again to show its effects. But the impact doesn't stop there. Think about your senses: sight, hearing, touch. In order for you to see, light needs to enter your eyes and be processed by your brain. But if time is stopped, the light is also frozen, unable to reach your eyes. This means that technically you wouldn't see anything, not even a still image of the world around you. Sound, which is basically vibrations in the air, would also stop moving, leaving everything in absolute silence, as if the world had been silenced. And it's not just you who would be in this frozen state. Imagine that while time was flowing, you were running, about to take the next step. The moment time stops, you would be stuck with one foot in the air, unable to complete the movement. Your muscles, which would normally be contracting and relaxing to allow you to move, would also be still, as if they were made of stone. Even the air around you, which you normally displace when you move, would be trapped, forming an invisible obstacle that you couldn't cross. So while the idea of stopping time may seem exciting at first glance, in practice, it's as if the entire universe and everything within it, including you, has been transformed into a painting, lifeless, motionless, and without the ability to stop time, to feel or experience anything. Fascinating, isn't it? But also a little scary, because time is what keeps everything working as it should, allowing the world to continue to move, and life in all its forms to exist and thrive. Imagine for a moment that you have the power to stop time. Suddenly, everything around you becomes completely still, as if someone has pressed a pause button on the universe. All movements, big and small, simply freeze in place. Think of a ball that was flying in the air, perhaps after a kick. At the exact moment time stops, the ball is suspended in the air, without rising or falling, as if it were being held by invisible hands. Now, think of a car speeding down the road. As time stops, the car, which was previously traveling at high speed, becomes completely stuck in place. The wheels, which turned quickly, no longer move. The driver, who was about to turn the steering wheel, is frozen in the act. It's as if the car and everything inside it were trapped in an image, lifeless, without movement. This doesn't just apply to larger objects. Even the smallest things, which we often don't even notice, also stop moving. For example, the wind that was blowing gently and swaying the leaves of the trees is now still. Each leaf, which used to dance in the wind, remains still, trapped in the air, as if frozen in time. Water that was running from a tap or forming small waves in a river also stops. Each drop of water remains suspended, without falling, without moving to the next point. And that's not all. The movement of everything around you depends on time. Without time, the laws of physics that normally govern the movement of things stop working. Inertia, which would normally cause a ball to keep moving until something stops it, cannot operate without time. Gravity, which pulls everything towards the ground, also needs time to work. Without time, gravity has no effect. So the ball that should fall, the leaf that should float, and the plane that should keep flying all stay still, as if suspended by some kind of magic. Now, imagine a bird flying through the sky. With time standing still, it would also be stuck in the air, with its wings outstretched, unable to flap its wings to continue its flight. Even the sound he was making, which is basically air vibrations, would be frozen, trapped in the surrounding space, unable to reach his ears. The entire world would become a static scene, where nothing else would move, not even the slightest breath of wind or the quickest ray of light. And this leads us to a fascinating conclusion. Movement and time are deeply connected. Without time, movement simply cannot exist. The entire world would be stuck in an eternal instant, as if it were waiting for time to start moving again, so that everything could continue moving again. Imagine living in a world where every action, every sound, every movement was suspended in time. Without time, even the smallest things around us would lose their ability to move, and the world as we know it would come to a complete standstill, waiting for the next beat of time to come back to life. If time stopped, it would be like pressing the pause button on a movie, where everything around you comes to a complete standstill. But the big question is, how would our mind react to this? Our brain works because time is always moving forward. It processes information, makes decisions, and makes you perceive the world in motion. If time stopped, your mind would have no new information to process because everything around you would be frozen. It would be like trying to watch a movie, but the screen is frozen on a single image. So even if your mind was on, it would have nothing new to notice or think about. Everything would be suspended at the same moment, and you would have no way to experience or interact with the world until time began to pass again. Without time moving forward, it would be impossible for the mind to continue functioning as we are used to, because time is what allows our thoughts and perceptions to move and change. The entire universe is like a big machine that works because time is always in motion. Stars shine, planets revolve around the sun, and even the tiny particles that make up everything around us are always in motion. But if time stopped, this gigantic machine would also stop. Everything in the universe, from the biggest things like galaxies to the smallest things like atoms, depends on time to move and function. If time stops, the particles that make up atoms would stop moving, and without motion, matter wouldn't behave as it should. Even light, which travels through space, would be frozen midway. Furthermore, the fabric of space-time itself, which is like the cloth on which the entire universe is drawn, would also be paralyzed. Without time, gravity, which keeps the planets in orbit and the stars together, would not work the same way. The entire universe would be trapped in a single moment, with no possibility of change or movement until time began to pass again. It's as if the universe entered an infinite pause, waiting for time to start working again. Now, imagine that you have the power to control time, as if you had a giant remote control that can pause, speed up, or rewind time. It looks incredible, doesn't it? But it also raises some important questions about what it would actually mean for our lives. If we could stop time, we would have the ability to do things no one else could, like finish a task in 1 second or prevent an accident before it happens. But it would also completely change the way we live and understand the world. We could, for example, avoid all difficulties or problems, but then we would never learn from them. Experiences that make us grow, such as overcoming challenges or dealing with the unexpected, would lose their value. Furthermore, having this power over time could make us question what is really important. If we could go back in time to correct mistakes, would we never learn to accept the consequences of our actions? And if we could always speed up time to get to something good faster, would we lose patience and the ability to enjoy the moment? Controlling time seems tempting, but it could also take us away from the things that make life meaningful, like learning, growing, and enjoying each moment for what it is. After all, it is the natural flow of time that gives meaning to our experiences and teaches us to value every second.